got injured. They need those big-time plays down the field. They need those plus 20 plays. When you bring in a guy like DeSean Jackson, you get a speedster, one of the best ball trackers over the last 10 years of the NFL. He's a guy that can get those home run plays with this offense certainly needs. If you're an offensive coordinator, this is what you get. Anytime DeSean Jackson's on the field, you get the safety to take a step or two back, which every quarterback, every offensive coordinator wants, trying to adjust the defenses. You make them take a step outside, a little bit wider to DeSean Jackson's side. That means Zach Ertz. That's the step or two that he's going to need to get a little bit more open. That means Alshon Jeffrey doesn't have to worry about the double team anymore. And that means if you're a running back, whatever running back they find in the draft, now you don't have to worry about those 7, 8-man boxes. It's going to make it easier for their entire team. Now all they need to do is find a way to get Carson Wentz, the healthy Carson Wentz, the 2017 Carson Wentz, to be playing at that level. If they can do that, this play for DeSean Jackson, it takes his team offensively to a different level.
I know DeSean's going into year 12, but he does not appear to be slowing down. No. Like, literally. He still seems to be as fast as he was when you played with him during tail end of your career when he first got to Philly. He had a really down year in 2017. His first year in Tampa, he never got on the same page with Jameis. And we even saw last year he had struggled getting on the same page with Jameis, thrived with Fitzpatrick. But aside from 2017, he's 18 yards per catch every single year. 4 of his 11 years in the league, he's led the NFL in that category, yards per catch. He is a huge play receiver. He's, to me, a better version of what Mike Wallace was going to be for them. And when we talk, about building your receiving core like a basketball team, I know it sounds cliche at this point, but Alshon's one position, Zach Ertz is one position because he's part of that receiving core.
They can play the 3 and the 4 and get you buckets. Fill up the stat sheet.
And DeSean Jackson is your shooting guard, I guess you would call it, your big play guy, your speedster, and the way he can tilt the defense, because you cannot not have a safety over the top of him unless you're playing some type of cover 3 where you have a deep zone. Like, you've got to account for his speed when you have a quarterback in Carson Wentz who you know has a strong enough arm to get him there. I think he is one of the players in this league that can change games without having a bunch of catches, because what he opens up for other people. I love this move for Philadelphia. This is one of my favorite moves of the young offseason.
When we talked last year about why it wasn't quite gelling so well with Alshon Jeffrey out there, is because Alshon was working so well with Nick Foles. He didn't have as good of chemistry, a good connection with Carson Wentz. How much does this help Carson Wentz to have a guy in there that from the get-go he could start working now in the offseason and getting on the same page with?
Yeah, well, you have to realize, too, last year, Alshon and Carson both coming back from injuries. Both of them missed a lot of time. Alshon had a bad shoulder, so he missed all the offseason training camp. A lot of training camp didn't start the season. So Carson Wentz, he also came back with that knee. This will help them out. And DeSean he's like the consummate point guard who's going to make sure that you get the ball, you get the ball, you get the ball. I don't need a whole bunch of shots because my shot's going to be down the field. He's not a guy that you have to target 8 to 10 times a game. So he's the type of guy you want to add to when you have someone like Alshon, when you have someone like Zach Ertz as a tight end, who those guys would be your primary wide receivers. But Nick, you mentioned D-Jack having the 18 yards a catch. Last year during the season, the only wide receiver that averaged 18 yards. Since he's been in the NFL, no one in NFL history has caught more passes for more than 60 yards than DeSean Jackson. His ability to turn the game around on one play, what about a punt return? So now I get some special teams value. And man, they love him in Philadelphia. He brings an extra little bit to that team. They got a unique fan base. I think that they will embrace him coming back to the city of Philadelphia. So just what Howie and them tried to do last year, they know what their weaknesses were in their offense. Let's add Mike Wallace. Well, Mike got hurt. DeSean Jackson is the better version and more homegrown coming back to Philadelphia, and you get that special teams edge. I like the move. I
love the fact you mentioned the special teams. You don't know what you're going to do with Darren Sproles quite yet. I think they find a way to bring him back. D-Jack is special back there. He's won a couple games already. Well, this is one thing that you have to love about speedsters. Everybody respects their speed. Everybody wants to go deep. And then on 3rd and 7, you think he's going deep? he runs a quick out route. You know, he gets the first down, 8 yards right there. That's the type of guy DeSean Jackson is. Very good route runner.
And that's the thing with Mike Wallace. He's a better, more complete wide receiver than Mike Wallace was. Both of them add that speed, but D-Jack has more versatility. Also, shallow crosses. You blitz, throw it to him hot. He terrorizes the defense because the game just starts once he gets the ball in his hands. So it should be exciting for Carson Wentz. I'm going to tell you who was upset yesterday. And that was Dallas Cowboys.
New York Giants.
New York Giants and the Washington Redskins, because they got to face him twice a year.
And I know we're going to talk more about the NFC East as a whole, but one note on this. The Eagles in 2017 were elite by league standards in 2 specific things in the passing game. Third down, they were amazing on third down, particularly on third and long, and deep passes traveling more than 20 yards through the air. Well, the big reason they regressed last year was they went more to league average on third down, and they were well below league average on those deep passes. Part of that's Wentz's injury. Part of that is the injury to the wide receiving core. But that is what DeSean Jackson is arguably as good as anybody in the league in, is tracking those deep passes and then run after catch on them. This is the type of move, especially when you see what the Eagles gave up and where his salary is, all that. I don't know how anyone could quibble with this. This makes the Eagles better. It is a position of need. It's a guy who's comfortable in the city. This is a great move by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Last year, the Eagles suffered what we call the Super Bowl hangover. How much better did this team just get from this move? Are we back on track to thinking they could be that team from 2 years ago?
Well, I think it was a couple of things that made them better. They're getting healthier. Jason Peters coming back, left tackle to protect your quarterback. You're getting a much healthier Carson Wentz. Then you start to add weapons, pieces on the outside, and you have a whole offseason of quarterback and wide receiver. You understand how it is, CC. When the quarterbacks and wide receivers get together in the offseason, production usually goes up a little bit more. You get a healthy guy doing that all season long, and a guy in DeSean Jackson. He's not focused on the money. He's not focused on the rap career. He's focused on winning football games. That's why he came back to Philadelphia, city that he certainly missed when he left out of Philly. I think this is a great move for him.
You mentioned the NFC East earlier. Washington signed safety Landon Collins yesterday. It was a 6-year, $84 million deal. How does that change the balance of power now in that division?
So much money. I mean, every year that I'm out of the game, I say, wow, these guys are getting paid. I never thought that I would see a safety get this type of money. I think he got $45 million guaranteed.
A box safety at that.
A bunch of money. But you talk about a box safety. That's important to bring up. Guess who you have in that division? Who are you trying to stop? Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley. That's why you bring in a guy like Landon Collins and say, listen,
because
stop these guys. Stop the run.
His strength is playing up close to the line of scrimmage, tackling at the line of scrimmage, tackling in the backfield. And when you are losing and you're trying, and you don't have $30 million to spend at your quarterback, you can take some chances like this. I don't like the fact, I love the fact that Landon got paid because I'm all for guys getting paid. But what about Josh Norman? He left Carolina for the same type of deal. He's in the last little phase of that deal, but they're in the same secondary. Do you spend that type of money on your secondary? And a lot of my questions in the NFL go like this. I ask them, would Bill Belichick do this? Be like,
no chance.
No. So that's a lot of money to have in 2 players in your secondary.
One thing we know about Washington, they love Alabama players. They now have 6 of their projected 11 starters are Alabama Crimson Tide defensive players. Now, you can say that's a good thing or a bad thing. I know some people think that Nick Saban kind of squeezes the football out of you with those practices, with the way they do things in Alabama, but they've got over half their starting lineup on defense are Alabama guys. I'm higher on Washington's potential than I think most teams are, most people are. They were devastated by injuries last year on the offensive line, lost their running back before the season even started, and then their quarterback went down. They still won 7 games. I think the Eagles are clearly the class of the division going into the season.
And then who? Cowboys? Maybe Giants?
I would project that it would go Philly, Dallas, Washington, Giants. But if you were to tell me one of the teams that goes from out of the playoffs to into the playoffs, goes from 7 wins to 10 wins next year is Washington, I wouldn't be shocked by it. They haven't bottomed out despite having what I would consider bad luck or injury-wise the last couple of years. If they stay healthy and if Case can be average, I think Washington can be, what up, Case? if he can be average. If he can just be average. If he can be what he was.
Well, that means you need a running game. Darius Geis has to come back and be completely healthy. They need some outside. The biggest thing they're trying to get from Landon Collins, you want to stop the run, you get a leader in that defensive side of the ball. Landon Collins is a team player. He's a leader. Big pickup for them.
Case game's going to be amazing. Brian, we'll see you later on in the show. Coming up, will Ben Simmons bring a title to Philadelphia? That's next on First Things First.
America, don't take my partner Nick Wright's advice. Don't wake up in the morning and say, how can I be average? Try to be great today.
Well, I didn't say I'm trying to be average.
Don't get a case of the cases.
I'm not Case Keenum.
We ain't going to call it being average. We're going to call it a case of the cases. I'm just going to be...